correct it. Okay, so in this case, you would throw in Keynesian's fiscal or monetary policy, which again will be increase in government expenditure, lower the tax. What about interest rate, tell me?
Lower it.
Very good, lower it. Okay, or positive demand shock, then everything shift to the right. So you're at point B, and then point B, you're on a higher inflation rate, so that's the only problem. Yes, you corrected it at the expense of a higher inflation rate. Whereas if you do nothing, you know the AS curve will eventually come down, which actually result in a lower inflation rate, which is good, but you don't know how long it will take. That's the problem. Okay, so, but please don't do both together if you want to explain something like that. In fact, the homework problem is very explicit. So it only asks you one way, it won't ask you two ways. But when I'm explaining, I want you to know that there's more than one possibility, see? Okay. So, yeah, you did all that. So then finally it comes back. But if you, so there's another alternative though. Let's see, that was 1, this is 2, yeah. Okay, very good. So let me erase this. This is when I used to ask students to come up, but if you help me, that's all right. You won't have to come up. But if you break you up into group, you think a little bit more. You could solve the problem a little bit better. Well, okay, let's do one more example here. So in this second example here, we start off with LRAS. So the vice versa is true. I'm not doing the vice versa, but I could have. So the next one you want to start off with 3 line intersecting. This is your point A. Pi, this is your Y. Okay, so Y star here. So now, so this is a beginning diagram. Okay, everybody okay with that so far? And then we're gonna give you a scenario. This scenario being, it could be an adverse inflation shock or it could be a favorable inflation shock. Let's just say it's adverse. So if you know that it's adverse, you know this is going to be bad, right? So then, what should I do? I'll move the AS curve up or down. Okay, very good, you're with me. So in your homework problem, think that way. So you shift the AS curve up because of adverse inflation shock. And I want to write down this is a cause, not effect. Not an effect, but a cause. Okay, so AS curve shift up, you're at point B. Drop down, you have RG. Okay, so everybody okay with that so far? Do it with me. At least I'm not asking you to come out and do it, so do it with me. Now at point B here, we ask you this on your exam. Can I give you a hint now? So at point B as compared to point A, you could see that inflation rate is higher, right? You could also see that output is lower. So we call that stagflation. I'm introducing that word for the first time. It means that stagnant, which is recession, and inflation part is your inflation. So at point B here, you have something that's known as stagflation. See up here? Okay. So what does it mean? It means that at point B, you have both inflation as compared to point A. You have both inflation as well as recession. So we combine the two terms together, we call it stagflation. Okay, we can do that problem in your tip on Wednesday. So the Fed follows a monetary policy rule and raises interest rates. So once again, they raise the interest rate because expected inflation rate is higher. So if they do that, then you come back to this point here. So at point B, are we okay? Did we correct anything? like I say, adverse inflation shock is a cost. We haven't solved the problem yet. So at point B, we still want to try to get the economy back to your potential GDP. So there are two ways to do it at point B. Tell me what are the two ways. Number one, you would, what? AD curve. What do you do with the AD curve? Right. You're afraid to do the point C, but we have a point C, yes. So at point B, again, right, you got recessionary gap, so you have to pump up the economy now. So then you would throw in Keynesian fiscal or monetary policy. Okay, so which would be increase in G, lower the tax, once again, lower the interest rate. So you could do that slowly until you hit point C, which is great because then you corrected it. Okay, so point C is your long run equilibrium. In fact, it's your final long run equilibrium. Point B is your short run equilibrium. And point A is your initial long run equilibrium. Can you see all that? Yeah? I'm sorry, let me read it again. Point A is your initial beginning, long run equilibrium. Point B is your short run equilibrium. And finally, point C is your final. The word final should be here, long run equilibrium. So at point B, right, we could tell you this. We could tell you two things. Number one, if there's a policy implementation, what should you do? And again, economics is like that 50-50, right? So let's just say you're very ignorant. Say, I don't know what's going on. I just walk into the class. I've been missing my classes, so I don't know what happened. Let's just flip a coin. And if you flip a coin, you got a head. A head tells you that you should shift the AD curve to the left. Let's just say you do that. If you shift the AD curve to the left, what happens? You will intersect right here. And then you see that the gap will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Say, whoa, come back. Wrong policy. So you know that to correct it, to get back to eliminate that output gap, you have to shift the AD curve to the right. That means practicing expansionary monetary or fiscal policy. Now there's one other way to correct it when you're at point B. Okay, that is to follow the classical economist spirit. Do nothing.
Fall back down.
Okay, if you do nothing, what happens?
It will eventually go back down.
It comes back down, yes. Very good. So let me draw that. So listen to read the question very carefully. So if you're in this situation, I wish this is more dark. It could be, see if this is better. You're all way out after a few. What do you say we throw all this away? Down. Okay, pick it up later. Let's try this last one. I think this one is dark. So you have another option. Right? The other option is LIAS, AD. Oops. Did we start off? Yeah, we start off like that. So let's use the red one so you're familiar. So it's not so much in drawing the graph, but in understanding what's going on. Although if you follow me by drawing the graph, it helps. So you have point B. So once again, this is a RG. I'm going to ask you again here. That's why it helps for you to come out and think, rather than me explaining all the time. So, okay, there's another alternative. If you do not want to throw in any fiscal policy, okay, you're just going to practice your self-correcting mechanisms, then what happens? And again, right, in the first place, you shift to the left or shift up because of adverse inflation shock. This is one. And then if you do nothing, when you're in recessionary gap, there's a tendency for inflation rate to drop, correct? Everybody agree? So if you do nothing, eventually, this is what happens. AS curve will come down, slowly until it hit, you coincide here. So that's your AS prime, and that will be your point C. So it comes back. So in other words, you could also do like that. 2. This is if you use still correcting mechanism. If you don't throw in any policy, although it could work the other way. Okay. Would you like for me to do the other way, or you want to do it yourself? I could do this as an exercise. Okay, so this is accommodating, which I already explained it here. So that's what happened. That was over there on the right side. And if you do nothing, then it comes back to point C, which is what it is here. So let's do one more example. I don't think you have this example in the book, but let's do another example. If you want, you have to, do we have time? Would you like for me to do one more example?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your enthusiasm. All right, so the other example would be, so as long as you do it with me in graph, okay, I think we good. I do have to do, I do have to do a class evaluation today because it's my last day of teaching for this class, and then next class we have exam. So, but I could do it quickly, but can y'all do, complete the evaluation for me? Okay. Xavier, could I ask you to collect it and give it to Mr. Okay, we'll do this quickly because we got only one more graph left. Okay, so 2-way, the first one is, let's start off with AD and AS. So let's do AS, AD, AS. Okay, now we want to start off with favorable inflation shock. Okay, and then there are 2 methods, 1 and 2. 2 is with self-correcting mechanism. 1 is with policy implementation. Every time you see this word policy implementation, you know you have to use the AD curve for any policy. Okay, so that's the beginning point, and then but we have to tackle this first. Favorable inflation shock means good or bad? Good. So, and this is a cost. So then we would expect, first of all, AS curve, not AD curve, to come down or go up?
Go down.
Go down, yes, because this is good, right? So AS curve comes down, because then your price will be lower. So this is point A, point B. Everybody got it? So AS curve come down in both cases. Okay? And what are we having? EG. Expansionary gap here. Okay? And then now there are 2 approaches to try to correct it. So first of all, this is a cost, favorable inflation shock, like what we had, adverse inflation shock. And then next we have at point B, which is EG in both cases. So there are 2 approaches to correct it. The first one is we said we could use policy implementation. So what would that be? Tell me. Would you want to shift the AD curve to the right or to the left? Yeah, I hope to the left. To the right will be far, far away. So to the left, very good. So you're back to point C. And what do you have to practice in this case? Contractionary fiscal and monetary policy, right? Which is lower the
Lower
government expenditure, increase
raise
tax,
taxes, increase.
increase very good. Okay, over here, we say, oh, this is a classical people talking, and say, well, we're in expansionary gap, we gotta do something. We know that there is, if we do nothing, forget about Keynesian people, don't throw in any policy implementation. And because you're in expansionary gap, there is a tendency for inflation rate to go up. So if you do nothing, AS curve will slowly shift back up. This is 2. This is 1. 1 will move from A to B. And 2 will move from B to C. So then you go back to this point, and then finally you're back to here. So the only difference is, in this case, of course, everything restore order. Your equilibrium income and your equilibrium inflation stays the same. But in this case here, right, you actually end up having a lower inflation rate. I mean, in both cases, you want to adjust that income back to normal. Okay, I think I got, this is my last slide, and then I'll let you do the evaluation. Okay, so now tax rate also affects this whole thing. So in this case, you notice that all this time I have not touched the LRAS curve at all. So this is the last case where you have a LRAS curve, and we're not even throwing in AS curve because it's too confusing. We know that anything to do with taxes do with AD curve, so we only have 2 lines intersecting here. So that's your beginning point. And now, remember your LRAS curve is your potential GDP. So if you increase it for whatever reason and it shift to the right, okay, your LRAS curve shift to the right. Now, both Y1 and Y2 are considered potential GDP. Everybody with me? Okay, and then the next thing is you will have to adjust it by moving the AD curve to the right, because if you want to practice tax reduction, which is your expansionary fiscal policy. So what this is saying is every time you reduce the tax, you're not only shifting the AD curve to the right, what we call expansionary fiscal policy, but also it will also move that vertical line. That's your long run aggregate supply curve. Remember the last slide of Keynesian policy, we talked about it. So then we say, what about point B? Is point B going to be higher or lower? That depends on the magnitude of the shift in your AD curve and the LRAS. So if you shift the LRAS curve very much to the right, you see that it will intersect here, the price will be lower. But if you move the AD curve very much to the right, you see that the inflation rate will actually be higher. So that's basically is the spirit. And I think I'm done with that. So finally, we could read this slide. What about macroeconomic policy? Is this an art or a science? A lot of time, we try to do prediction, but it cannot be so accurate. So then you have to wait, really, both types of policy, whether you want to do self-correcting economy, follow the classical economist idea, or you want to follow the Keynesian monetary or fiscal policy idea. Okay, next I would like for you to do a class evaluation for me. And I'll wait outside, so when you walk out, I'll give you assignment back. So, yeah, please come and help me. Sean, you could come help me to distribute to some of you. And I have to leave. I cannot stay here while you do it. So please put in any comments you have to help me with anything. Could I erase this? Is everything done? Okay. And if you have any question about your paper, please talk to me. Could I have that? I think, Sean, you gave me the attendance back already. So this class is ECN 2030. The professor's name is GAN. So some of the things you have to fill in, I think. And on the Wednesday, we'll